as Americans are wondering what's going to happen to their homes, to their money, to their jobs, as the House cannot come to a decision with regard to this bailout plan. At this time, we want to get to Kathleen Koch now. She's at the White House. We did see come across the wires the President of the United States, his spokesperson, Tony Fratto, saying Bush was very disappointed that nothing passed in the House today. She's there now with Tony live on the White House lawn. Kathleen?
Yes, precisely. Obviously, Kira, this is something that the Bush administration handed to Congress over a week ago, and they knew that Congress was going to, as the president described, improve on it. But let's talk right now to Deputy Press Secretary Tony Fratto about just what happened. What's your reaction to losing this very important vote?
Obviously, it's a disappointment. We thought there would be enough support for this legislation on the Hill. We're very concerned about the markets. Remember that the crisis that we were facing, that we were trying to fix, still remains. So the president will be meeting with his team, and we're going to try to determine the next steps in this.
And what might those next steps be?
We'll have to see. He'll get advice from Secretary Paulson. We'll want to hear the views of Chairman Bernanke and other economic officials. We'll also want to be in touch with congressional leaders and get their views as well.
Tony, do you believe that you can salvage this plan? Is there any way to go back, take another crack at it, add something to it, subtract something from it?
We think that the mechanisms in this plan were the best to deal with the crisis that we're facing. So the core of this plan that was outlined, we think will solve the problem. It was big enough, substantial enough, and it hit the target for what we were trying to do in terms of the credit markets and our economy. So the core of this plan, we believe, really needs to get done to give the Treasury Secretary the tools that he needs to prevent our economy from slipping.
A lot of people are talking right now about who dropped the ball. House Republicans just pointed to Nancy Pelosi. They blamed her for poisoning the environment. They said she had exhibited a failure to lead. What mistakes did the White House make?
Look, I think there's what we're dealing with here was a very difficult situation. We tried to convince enough members that the meeting was critical, needed to get done. We talked to a lot of members, the president, the vice president, and others did, but it's a complicated bill. We want to make sure that people understand the crisis because it does need to be fixed.
You said in the briefing today that part of the problem was we in the media described this as a Wall Street bailout, and you say it's not that.
Well, I don't think there's any question that the labeling this as a bailout for Wall Street executives makes it difficult for people to support it. There's no question about that. I think that's apparent to everyone. But that's not what this is. This is to deal with a systemic problem that cuts across our financial system and affects every American. So to leave Americans with the impression that their tax dollars were going to pay off for Wall Street executives probably wasn't fair. Didn't made the challenge that much steeper for certainly members to vote for it, and the challenges that we had in communicating it. We're going to continue to communicate on what the facts are here, and the facts is that America's credit system, its method of delivering money to individuals, consumers, businesses who need it, is broken, and it will be broken until we take the steps to fix it.
Tony, soon after this vote failed, the stock market plunged some 700 points. At last check, I believe it was down some 535. Do you think that is going to help you in persuading members of Congress that something needs to be done?
We never, wish to see a decline in the markets, and it's not something that we would want to see now. I don't know if people should use it as a scorecard. There is the problem that we've been talking about is in our credit markets, and Americans are feeling it already. We talk to small businesses across the country. They're having trouble getting credit. There have been some companies that have had trouble getting overnight loans to be able to make their payrolls and to ship their goods. That's a problem. If we don't have that kind of efficient credit delivery system in this country, our economy grinds to a halt. That's something that nobody wants to see.
What do you say to members of Congress, and just in conclusion, who said, part of the problem was this administration has cried wolf once too often. They pointed to the president saying there were definitely WMD in Iraq. We're in a crisis after 9/11. You have to pass the Patriot Act. And a lot of lawmakers really regret the votes that they cast.
Kathleen, we have a problem here. I know lots of people want to talk about the past. We're talking about an actual crisis here. It's not just the administration saying it. You're seeing it in the markets.
Tony Fratto, thank you so much. Deputy Press Secretary Tony Fratto, obviously making it clear there's a lot of work that lies ahead, and everyone's going to be putting their heads together to try to come up with the way forward. Kira.
We're all trying to put our heads around it. Kathleen Koch there live from the White House. Appreciate it so much. Tony Fratto, thank you so much. Let's get to Ed Henry back there to you in the D.C. Bureau. Just real quickly, Ed, are you getting any response from McCain camp or Obama camp?
Yeah.
And also, too, I mean, just listening to what Tony Fratto had to say and hearing the Republicans come before the cameras there. You know, the GOP is saying this is not a partisan issue, yet they're blaming Nancy Pelosi for the failure that happened today. I mean, are they trying to have it, or is it trying to have it both ways?
Well, I think there are going to be some very tough questions for the Republican leadership. You're absolutely right. I mean, number one, when you look at it, when they're pointing the finger at Nancy Pelosi for not delivering